take on the world and maybe even do a little wine tasting. It is the weekend after all, so why not visit some local Central Coast wineries? Or if you're listening up in the Bay Area, you could head to any number of locations up that direction. Really up and down all throughout California now. There's a wine region for everyone. Okay, as mentioned in a couple of my trivia questions earlier this hour, California's mission system was founded in the late 17 and early 1800s along the coast from San Diego all the way to just north of San Francisco. And I think, as Patty, one of her questions, 21 missions in all, plus a few outbuildings like Santa Margarita Ranch is one of those. And as Father Junipero Serra and his team established the locations. That's my attempt to sound like I can speak another language, but I don't. They also planted grapes to make wine as they were establishing these places. And those original grape lines brought over from Spain are mostly gone, as tastes for Cabernet and Rhone varietals, Pinot, Chardonnay, among others, have overtaken the industry. But a few strands still remain, and one, Santa Barbara County vintner, is using the original mission grapes, as they're called, to make some very highly rated wine. Deborah Hall with Gypsy Canyon Winery joins us in studio now to give us a couple of lessons on history and winemaking. Welcome, Deborah.
Good morning, Randall. Happy to be here today.
Yeah, so glad that you could make the trip. We appreciate you coming in studio for
My
sure.
pleasure. I had to bring in the wine. You've got to know what you're talking about.
Because we can't do that over the phone, right?
Yeah, no. Exactly.
Now, I am really excited about this because when I started reading some of the history behind it, the mission grapes had somewhat been all but lost for the most part, and then they started popping up, and you found some vines on your property.
Right, quite by accident. We were cleaning up to plant some Pinot, a hot new varietal, and we discovered a vine and another realized we had a whole hillside. It turned out to be 3 acres. They were first identified as Zinfandel, so I was selling the grapes for a couple of years as Old Vine Zen, and then we did some DNA testing and found out they were mission grapes. Honestly, I was really disappointed because I thought I had Old Vine Zen, which is really, really cool to have.
Right.
And I thought, mission, oh my gosh, what do you do with Old Mission grapes? So I thought, well, the Padres had the most experience with this varietal.
Yeah.
So going down to the Santa Barbara Mission, the archives library there, they have fabulous resource. All the correspondence between the fathers, the books, everything's gathered right down in Santa Barbara. So going through all their winemaking notes, they would write back and forth to each other, talking about their methods and what they liked and didn't like.
Did you have to stomp the grapes with your feet?
Yeah, well, no. They did, absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the coolest restored bodegas is up at the San Antonio Mission, if you ever get a chance to check it out. They used gravity feed back then where they stomped the grapes, and there's a little hole in the vat that goes down to the cellar, and they would just put the barrel right under the hole in the cellar, and it would just go right into the barrel. It's very cool.
Really? And open to all the air and all the microorganisms
Yes.
that would be floating around as well. So you can't be super exact about what yeast you might get in your wine, correct?
They used whatever they had. Yeah. It was all native yeast.
And so how now that you're using the mission grapes, do you use a specific yeast or do you do it the same way?
No, it's more controlled. I have only the 3 acres, so I'll get about 1 barrel a year, maybe almost a ton if I'm lucky. So I can't take a chance with native yeast that might throw it off. I need to control it a little
more. What a waste that would be, right?
But, But other than that, I do it pretty much by their recipe. We harvest and it's a thick red skin grape. Big loose clusters can weigh up to a pound each. Really gorgeous when you see them on the old vines. So we just bring it straight into the winery, take the juice off the skins right away, press it, and then start fermentation. And about halfway through, they made a lot of brandy back then, so they would fortify. It's a fortified dessert wine.
I see.
So they would fortify it with their brandy. So I have to fortify it with high-proof grape spirits, which just does the same thing. So that kills the yeast, stops the fermentation, and then you have your residual sugar of about 9% and alcohol at about 18%. And then I'll age it for 4 years in neutral French oak. They didn't have new oak back then.
Right.
And the barrels, there's some headspace. So I age it for 4 years, sur lees, on the lees, and never top it. So the headspace is part of the oxidation process that actually improves the wine.
Now, what's the difference between a high-proof grape spirit and brandy?
It's just wine made from grapes that's been distilled.
Okay,
So,
but not aged in barrels and that sort of thing, so that's why it doesn't have the brandy
I
characteristics.
actually did some cuttings from the Mission, tried to make my own brandy. But what happens by the time you double distill a 60-gallon barrel of wine,
There's not a lot left.
you get 6 gallons. Yeah, that would take a
Right.
lot of acreage.
Yeah, well, those bottles would be extremely expensive. Yes. So, Deborah, I'm wondering, I assume that the grape has characteristics of Zinfandel because you thought it was an old fine Zinfandel. Would that be the varietal you would most closely describe the Mission grapes as being?
No, actually, through DNA testing, they've actually linked them to a couple of grapes out of Spain, a Liston Pietro and a Criolla grape.
Okay.
And even a Pais grape.
Right.
And also may think that it may have been hybrid with the native grape, California native grape. So
Now, for people that are watching this broadcast online or via the smartphone apps, we do have some pictures from your website from the 2009 harvest. Are those the Mission grapes
great.
that are in that picture, or
that was the Pinot.
That's the Pinot, okay, that are
we were
there.
harvesting, yeah.
But it looks like a beautiful property. You're located in the Santa Rita Hills.
Exactly. Yes, just off of Highway 246 in the northwestern region of Santa Rita Hills. And that is actually, they grew the Mission grape at every mission. So if you have a wine that was grown in San Gabriel, it's a lot warmer and you're going to have a completely different grape that's grown in Santa Rita Hills.
Right.
And so the advantage is it's hard to ripen. However, it hangs on to a beautiful natural acidity, all of it. Here, I just poured you a little sip if you want to try this.
I do, thank you.
And a little bit of 5-year vintage Gouda is really a wonderful pairing. So take a bit of
Hey,
that.
I like this. Where did you get the Gouda?
This is from the Beverly Hills Cheese Store. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, now I'm feeling like extra special this morning. I love it. Good thing I had breakfast. I'm wondering, the Santa Rita Hills, they are considered to be one of the prime Central Coast growing. People source their grapes from there for specific characteristics. And what would you say would be the overriding characteristics of grapes from the Santa Rita Hills?
Well, it's known for its beautiful Pinot, and because geographically how it's set up, it allows a long, cool growing season, which allows the Pinot to develop its wonderful flavors that it come, and the soils, of course. It's all about terroir.
I've got to tell you, I don't know if it's the combination with the cheese or what, but I'm tasting a lot of caramel or caramel, depending on where you're from, how you want to pronounce that. But it tastes like candy. I mean, like candy, but not overly sweet. It is fantastic.
Thank you. The 9% residual sugar and the 18 alcohol seems to be a nice balance. Not sweet enough to really go with dessert, but it's a sipping wine, and having this with a little cheese after dinner, you're set.
I need to focus on this cheese a little bit too.
Okay.
This is fantastic. What's the brand name?
It's a 5-year vintage Gouda. And if you ever need to do any pairing, you see Tony at the Beverly Hills Cheese Shop. He's got a fabulous palette for pairing the cheese and wine.
I'm going to have to put a link to that on our program summary because when a cheese blows me out of the water like that, I want to share it with our listeners.
Yeah, it has a wonderful textural surprise, and then the saltiness with the sweetness of the wine is great.
You didn't get a chance to have some with your tasting it.
I've had quite a bit.
Okay. So where can people find this?
Directly through my website. I currently have a wait list, but I'll have a new release this fall.
Okay, and
Then just sign up for the wait list through the website.
And your website is gypsycanyon.com, correct?
That's it.
It's so easy. And,
yes.
And of course, we have a link to that as well. Just head to, if you're listening and you're thinking, I want to access all these things, eatdrinkexplore.com. You just go to the radio tab, and when you hover over that, drop-down menus there, and it says right there, program summaries, guest information. Just click on that, and you'll see today's listing and all of the guests you heard today. You'll find links there, including Deborah Hall with Gypsy Canyon Winery and her fabulous Mission Grape varietal. What is the name? Do you call it? It's not called Mission Grape.
It's actually called Ancient Vine Angelica, and it was coined Angelica by the San Gabriel Mission. They named the city of Los Angeles the City of Angels.
Yeah.
So
I like that connection.
they made quite a bit of it at the San Gabriel Mission.
Are you from Southern California originally?
Yes. Moved up here to kind of retire, ended up in a whole new business and busier than ever.
That's how it happens, right? Yeah. But would you say that the whole thing is true? Find something you love to do and you'll never work a day in your life. So
absolutely. It's a wonderful lifestyle. I could never imagine going back. Yeah.
Yeah.
You never retire.
And it's such a short trip down to see all your friends and family and stuff that you may have left down in the LA area.
Yeah,
so.
It's nicer to bring them up here.
Right.
Really.
But you do have to go, unless the Beverly Hills Cheese Market ships, I guess you do step.
They do.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's easy.
Overnight.
Easy as it is. Okay, Deborah Hall with Gypsy Canyon Winery. That's gypsycanyon.com. Thank you for bringing the sample taste.
My
Love
pleasure.
it so much. Look for their Angelica on the website. You can order it that way. There's a waiting list, though, and after tasting it, I understand why. All right, up next, everyone, we are taking you along the northern stretch of the original Mission Route, as one group of women are currently on horseback at this moment, as a matter of fact, following the Mission Trail and discovering great food and history along the way. In fact, there's a couple of stops. If you're a foodie and you really want to check out some old-time recipes from when the missions were being founded, they'll be tasting those in both San Jose and Santa Cruz. We'll get their complete story in just a moment. You're listening to the Eat, Drink, Explore Radio Network, a Central Coast live broadcast. We're back in just a moment.